I'm gonna wait for this plane.
Oh, sure.
The roof is kind of loud.
Not usually. Oh boy. But anyway, like I was saying, I forgot to swallow that. Anyway.
Did you do that on purpose?
I didn't swallow any of that. It just sat in my mouth. And then when you open your mouth to talk, it just all came right out. My mistake.
We hang together on rooftops forever. We hang together. We hang together. It's Rooftop ICKS.
Hi, welcome to Rooftop ICKS. I'm Ben.
I'm Bryn. And today we're going to be reviewing the new Todd Terje album.
Or Terje.
Terje is the Icelandic?
I have no
Swedish?
idea.
It's album time.
Yes, from what I understand, he's been long in the community remixing other people's stuff forever and ever and ever.
Right.
So I guess he one day said, you know what, it's album time.
It's album time.
And so here we have it. I loved the Todd Terje. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it a million ways.
It's very delicately arranged. It reminds me a lot of Max Tundra, if you're familiar with Max Tundra. It was a Pitchfork darling a few years ago. Sebastian Kavinsky style electronic is very similar to something you'd hear in a Hotline Miami game.
Yeah, that's interesting. Some of the beats, some of the tracks are very just straight ahead electronic, you know, 4/4 time, that just has these layers that slowly build and then sort of fade out, and then with some soloing. But then there's other rhythms throughout the thing that are from all over the place. There's like some Latin rhythms in some stuff. There's some like I don't know, like samba or, you know, merengue. There's just all sorts of,
like Haitian
it's
stuff.
like this electronic sort of trip around the world.
Yeah, it's like world music kind of, but
there's up-tempo stuff, there's chill stuff, there's everything.
It takes a lot, I think, for me to be intrigued or impressed by electronic music because so much of it is so similar.
That's why I think this stands out. It is very odd.
It is an odd record. How'd you find out about it?
I was just, I think, on the Other Music website checking out new releases, and they have like a sample of like 2 songs on a lot of their new releases, and so that's a way that I find new music. Is I just go, what came out today, and I'll go and listen to stuff. And I heard the first, you know, the 2 songs that were from this, and I was like, I'm gonna go get that. I'm gonna go get that and see what the rest of it's like.
What's the track you don't like?
Oh, it's my least favorite. I do like it. It's this track with Bryan Ferry on it from Roxy Music.
From Roxy, yeah.
And it's just this slow thing, and his voice has no effects on it, and it sounds old and dry. It reminds me sort of that Paul Williams track on the Daft Punk record, in the same way that his voice is, you know, an old singer from way back, who they put on this sort of ballad, and his voice sounds so vulnerable. But I kind of like that track better.
Because I feel like it sounds vulnerable, but it's not necessarily supposed to.
Yeah.
Like it just happens to be that he's very old.
Right.
They wanted his voice, but not his old man voice.
Yeah, so this song is, you know, it's slow, and melodically it doesn't really do anything either. It's just my least favorite track. I sometimes it comes on and I'm like, this is very lovely. What a lovely track this is. But then other times I was like, the skip.
A lot of the sounds on this record are sort of bold, but I sometimes feel like end up being more cheesy than anything. Not a lot. A few songs. But overall,
I think the only cheesy part for me is the cover. Like, I wish that it had a different cover because I feel like this doesn't fit the music.
No, not at all.
The music is, you know, analog, synthy, old school synth sounds, which are my favorites. And so I wish the cover fit the music a little better. But yeah, this is a cheesy cover.
Yeah, his little anchor necklace and chest hair. And
yeah, I mean, you really do think it's going to be like lounge versions of popular rock songs or something.
Like Richard Cheese album.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like you're going to get that. So,
it's definitely not.
So what I like to do when I listen to it is not look at the cover.
So if you're interested in Kavinsky, Perturbator, especially if you're into Max Tundra, definitely check out Todd Terje because you'll like it.
So what would you rate this album?
Like I said, I think it's inventive. It doesn't hit everything I am interested in. I think there's some cheesiness to it that's hard for me to deal with, but I think it's a really interesting album, and I'd probably give it a hard 7, light 8.
Yeah, I will give it a 9. It's on my phone, and I always go to it when I'm on the train and looking for something to listen to.
Yeah,
it's good music for it.
I haven't listened to it on headphones.
It's good music for an outside day like today.
Yeah, why aren't we listening to it right now?
We should put it on.
Okay. Well, first let's hear it, Lucas Jr.
Let's see what Lucas Jr. thinks of it. All right, what do you think of this so far, Lucas?
What do you think of it, Lucas?
I thought we were gonna hear Richard Cheese.
Why would No, look, we talked about this in the review. It's not lounge music. It just looks like it might be lounge.
Is this I Like Big Butts? Because it's not really that loungy. It doesn't even sound like the same song.
It's not any song. It's a Todd Terje song.
Yeah, you're looking at the cover.
Stop looking at the cover.
Yeah, this is the worst cover I've ever heard. It doesn't even sound like the same song at all.
No. Not a cover of a song. It's not a cover.
You can say that again. This is not a cover. This is like a totally different song.
No, we're saying that.
Hey, whenever you guys dance, you ever do one of these? Look at this.
No, that's not how anyone dances with
Wait,
you.
You've never seen me do this move before. No, you always do that move. That's your go-to move.
That's the only move you do, really.
I'm just feeling it.
I'm glad you feel it.
I'm a slave to the rhythm, even if it's a shitty cover of a Baby Got Back.
I promise you it isn't.
I don't care. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. You should feel it.
We already felt it.
You should feel this.
Okay, this is viewer email.
As always, we answer the questions that you send us. Please send us questions in the comment section, at our email, tweet us, Facebook us.
Yep.
We're all over the place.
We're a big fan of questions.
Big fan of questions, and from what we understand, so are you. This one's from Farmer Phil, who wants to know what's normally in your bag.
Yes, I have a messenger bag that I carry around in the city everywhere I go, and usually what's in there is 1 or 2 cameras.
This guy likes cameras.
I'm a big collector of old
Big camera
80s
guy.
point and shoots.
Big camera guy.
In answer to your question, I recommend the Canon AE1 or the Pentax
The
K1000.
question is, what's in your bag?
Oh, right now, if you must know, it is probably my new one, the Canon A35F from 1978.
Of course.
Also, probably the Nikon L35.
Yeah. Besides cameras.
And then sometimes work-related shit will be in there. But that's basically it.
So yeah, in my purse I usually carry a book I'm reading, a notebook, pens, makeup, perfume, sunglasses if it's nighttime. That's about it.
Another good camera is the Olympus XA. It is a rangefinder.
This isn't a camera question.
It's this small little compact thing that's got sort of a clamshell style to it when you open it, and it has manual focus that you do with the rangefinder style of having these two images that line up. It's a good camera.
You know what's a good thing to keep in your bag? A seam ripper. They're a tiny little
What is that?
Sewing tool to like rip the seams on clothes.
Oh. Why would you need to rip the seams on your clothes in an emergency?
You know, it's useful for a lot of things that you wouldn't really expect because it's super tiny. It's like having a tiny needle, and it's just very, very useful.
Is that what it looks like? It's like a needle?
It's like a U-shape. One has like a little ball on the end, and then the other's like a pointy thing.
Okay. Like a fish hook, kind of?
Kind of. I'll show it to you.
Okay.
But I carry that around with me everywhere. Also, big markers to write on the subways.
Yeah. Okay.
I have those.
Is that legal? Are you allowed to write on the subways?
No.
Good to know. Good to know. Good tip, everybody.
Don't do that.
Here on Rooftop ICKS, we like to give you New York City tips whenever possible.
True.
And today's New York City tip is you are not allowed to write on the trains.
Right. No. It's very, very.
The inside or the outside.
But most bar bathrooms.
That's allowed.
Don't frown upon it.
Yeah.
They don't want you to. But.
All right. Good tip.
Okay. This is from Gun Shotgun.
Gun Shotgun.
I have a music question.
Music question!
Will there ever be another band as great and iconic as the Beatles?
Probably.
You think probably?
No, no way.
Oh, no,
There can't be.
not a chance.
The main problem is, and the Beatles were great, but they also, their iconic status, I think is just impossible to achieve now because there are so many genres and subgenres of music that people go to their subgenre and there's no unifying crossover big name act that everyone universally likes around the world.
Right, and I think
there's big stars, you know, like I guess now like Miley Cyrus and Justin Timberlake and yeah, Justin Bieber, Katy Perry.
Beyonce.
There's big stars, but they're not universally adored by everybody. Like, because back in the Beatles time, there was rock and roll, and that was the popular music of the time, and that was it.
Well, there was jazz and...
I guess, but that wasn't really... Kids didn't really listen to jazz.
Right, it wasn't, but the thing about the Beatles that a lot of people forget is that adults hated the Beatles.
Sure.
Like, they were a craze for... People thought they were a craze that would go away.
Yeah, yeah.
And it wasn't until they started making weirder music, post-Revolver and stuff that people really saw some musical value in them.
Like, I can't think of one album that's out right now that will be celebrating its 30th anniversary of. Right? Like, there's not going to be, like, Katy Perry's, the 30th anniversary of whatever her album is called, or Lady Gaga, or any of these. Lady Gaga might be the closest.
Maybe Jay-Z.
Or the,
like the Black Album?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so.
Like, I think the last thing that got closest was Nirvana.
Sure.
Like, people think of Nirvana as important as the Beatles.
Right. The Beatles will always be the Beatles.
The Beatles, yeah.
And there will be no one else to knock them off their throne.
Unfortunately.
So in answer to your question, the Beatles are better than the Rolling Stones.
That's also not the question.
Oh, I keep
So, next question that we'll fuck up. This one's from someone named Flarney.
That's a nice name.
Flarney Stone? Kiss the farm. Anyway, that question is, I work for tips. I think people always tip what they tip, and you can't change that. What do you think?
I agree with that.
I mean,
I think you can.
Is the question
you
like,
can't raise the tip. You can definitely lower it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like if I normally tip 20%,
which I do,
I'm probably going to tip 20% every time. It's going to take a lot for me to tip less than that, but I probably won't tip more.
I think
I can't imagine something so good that I'm like, I'm going to tip 50% this time.
I think I would never tip 50%. That's crazy talk. But I think I'd like bump it up to 25 if they were particularly amazing. But that's only happened once or twice.
Yeah. For me though, I'm not in constant evaluation of the service I'm getting. I mostly don't even really recognize it. It's just like when the meal's over, I tip.
You have to.
And it's just sort of like automatic. You just look at it. I usually just tip about 20%.
Yeah.
I just look at what the tax is, double it, and write that in.
And I think some people who are very rich often feel like they can give a little more, give a little less, or whatever. But they still probably tip around the same all the time.
Right.
You're never gonna get.
I heard some story, I don't even know if it's true, it sounds untrue, but somebody was saying that, you know, their dad or their uncle or somebody did this, where he would put a stack of ones on the table at the beginning of the meal, and he says, this is your tip, unless you screw up, then I'll start taking ones off of the pile.
That's ridiculous.
Isn't that insane? I don't even think that's true.
That
no one
can't
would
be
do
true.
that.
That's like weirdly manipulative and like torturous.
Yeah, it's just a dick thing to do, and it's
Yeah.
like, why don't you just enjoy your meal? Like, what are you doing keeping score with your dollar bills?
Why does every meal have to
If
be
I
like
was a waiter, I'd be like, go ahead and just put all that in your pocket then, because I'm not coming back here.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, fuck you.
I'll save you the trouble. Take all your ones and put them in your pocket. Don't need it.
Ryan, our friend, our coworker, used to be a delivery guy, and he said if he was tipped under $5, he was upset about that.
Really?
Or not upset, just like anything under that was like didn't matter to him.
I don't think I've ever tipped $5
No
on delivery.
way. You tip $2.
Yeah, and they're usually just right down the street. You know, we live in a big city, so.
We're just lazy.
So the people that are delivering are just walking down the block, you know. So it's
Yeah, I mean, I guess he was like in a different town and driving, and he was delivering pizzas. But
I guess it's different if you're driving, because it's probably your gas that you're using.
Really, you think so?
I don't know.
Huh.
Do you think that, like, if you're delivering for Pizza Hut, do you think they give you a gas stipend?
I would hope so, but I have no idea.
So in answer to your question, Pizza Hut delivers till 10.
That's been viewer emails. Thank you so much for writing in.
And until next time, top of the world to you.